the, I'll do it now. Hi, I'm Stephen Alcalde. I actually was the reference and technology librarian here at Rogers Memorial Library, but I actually, as of like 2 weeks ago, got a promotion. And now I'm the technology department supervisor. So technology is kind of my thing. You wouldn't have guessed that based on how long it took me to get this thing going. But this is cutting the cord. It's just kind of a very quick class, kind of showing everybody the different options you have when cutting the cord and getting rid of Altice or Cablevision. It's Altice. I'm going to keep calling it Cablevision. I mess that up constantly. So if I say Cablevision, just know that I mean Altice. And the whole premise of the class is that I can't tell you what works best for you. Cutting the cord was definitely a process for me. It was a lot of trial and error. But I definitely, for years, I've been doing this. I got it down to a science at this point, I think. But again, it's kind of relative to your needs specifically. So what this presentation does is it provides you with a whole bunch of different options. So you, I sent this to Jocelyn, so hopefully she'll send it out or had sent it out to you. So you'll have this as a record digitally. And it's just a lot, it's all your options out there and what those options are best for, what you might specifically be looking for. There's a lot of information. I'm not going to read each slide verbatim because there's so much information on there, but feel free to ask questions. I can't, because technology is not being my friend today. I can't see everybody and I can't see if you have questions. So don't hesitate to interrupt me if you have a question. I am using a laptop that is not mine. So wish me luck. So right off the bat, we're going to start with, does anyone, and feel free to speak up because again, I can't see you, but does anyone enjoy Acorn TV? I'm going to take that as a no. I'm going to kind of pass by this then. Acorn TV is specifically an app that is designed specifically for people who like Acorn TV. And as you can see here, the slides are going to be broken down in this capacity. It's going to be what the price of it is, whether it's a monthly or yearly basis, who the app is specifically best for, and then just kind of a few notes about the app itself. And again, you'll have these for your records if you want. If anyone needs me to send this to them again, all of my contact information is on that first slide. Amazon Prime Video is one of the better apps out there in regards to live streaming. Typically, when you are looking for when you're looking to cut the cord, there are usually 3 different types of people out there. There are people who just want to kind of point and click. It's almost like a pay-per-view. Typically, those are the apps that have a library, an entire library, a catalog that you can find what you're looking for specifically, click it and watch it. And then there are people who are looking for live television. They're looking to replace their live television. And there are plenty of apps out there that do that as well. And we're going to kind of delve into what each one is and what it does. And then there are people who are looking for more of like a, actually, you know what, we'll get to that. I don't want to spoil the ending here. Amazon Prime Video is one of the better apps out there when it comes to streaming. One of the best parts about Amazon Video is that if you already have Amazon Prime, then you already have Amazon Prime Video. It comes with your Amazon Prime subscription. It's $12.99 a month. It's $120 for the year, give or take. What's great about Amazon Prime Video is besides the fact that they have great content, they have great original content. They also act as a hub for your other streaming services. You can, as you can see actually here in the image down here, kind of looks like Netflix. Netflix designed the kind of interface that a lot of these streaming apps use. But what makes Amazon Prime differently is you can download your other streaming apps onto Amazon Prime Video, and you can use it as kind of a central hub to access all of your apps. So it would be, I have HBO Max and Netflix and, whatever the case may be, SNY for some reason, but you can kind of line them up all in a row on the top tier of this page. And so you can just log into your Amazon Prime Video, and then you can find whatever other app you're looking for. This works whether you have a smart TV or whether you're using a streaming device. Amazon Prime Video is perfect as creating a central hub. That's probably the best part about it. And it also has a very vast library. It's got a huge library. What's really cool about it is even if they don't have a specific movie or show, they'll tell you where you can find it, where you can purchase it, or where you can stream it yourself. And again, I talk a lot. I've had a lot of coffee today, so don't hesitate to interrupt me, or if I'm speaking too quickly, tell me to slow down. Apple TV is it's one of the newer streaming services. It's one of the cheaper ones as well. It's $4.99 a month, $50 for the entire year. A lot of streaming services began as libraries of other people's content, but as Netflix kind of started and a lot of the other streaming services have kind of picked up the mantle and done as well, there's so much original content out there. So some of these apps are great if you're looking for other people's content, and some are great if you're looking for that specific services content. Apple TV happens to be one of those where it's usually best if you're looking for specifically Apple TV content. It works through iTunes. So anything that you could purchase or find on iTunes would be available on Apple TV. You can purchase it or you can rent it. But for the most part, the subscription will get you original content. And that's what most people are looking for when they go to Apple TV. They had shows like The Morning Show. They had, there's a new one on now that's relatively big. The name's escaping me, but if you're looking for other content that's kind of outside of the world of Apple TV, then this isn't necessarily the one you're looking for. AT&T TV is actually AT&T. It's a lot of T's in this. The alliteration is killing me. AT&T bought Dish Network a few years ago, and they pretty much dismantled Dish Network, and now it's AT&T TV. And on the next slide, as you can see, AT&T Watch TV. AT&T TV is their live television app. It does have a pretty dense, thick library of other content, but for the most part, this is a service that you would want to use if you're looking specifically for live television. It's a little pricey. It could be $60 to $80 for the first year. That can jump up as years go on. They kind of operate like Altice in that capacity. And the difference between the disparity between $60 and $80 is how many channels you want. I would say personally, and none of these stations or none of these services are paying me. Everything I'm saying is based on my experience with these apps. Every app that's on this slideshow I've used myself. And I will say that if you're looking for a live television app, AT&T is not necessarily, in my opinion, the best one. My favorite one is YouTube TV. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But if you have, one of the reasons that you might decide to go with AT&T TV is that if you have AT&T as your service provider, then you get a pretty predominant discount with their monthly subscription. So that's a reason to go with them. If AT&T is not your provider, I wouldn't suggest using them. And again, if you have questions or anything, just let me know. AT&T Watch TV is kind of their on-the-go version. If you have AT&T provider, then you have this for free already. It's kind of like having an Amazon Prime account and getting Amazon Prime Video. AT&T Watch TV is available for free for you. Otherwise, it's $14 a month, $15 a month. And again, it functions as live television, but more than anything else, it's just best for people who have them as a provider. BritBox, I'm going to pass by BritBox because nobody had any interest in Acorn TV. BritBox is just a larger version of Acorn TV. Whereas Acorn TV has just specifically Acorn TV distribution titles. BritBox is pretty much anything that's British. It's BBC, it's Acorn TV, it's a lot of the big channels that are over there. CBS All Access is It's a good program in, I'm sorry, it's a good streaming service if you are a fan of specifically CBS television. And a lot of these stations are doing this nowadays. When streaming services first kind of came out, there was like the big three. It was Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon Prime Video, and they pretty much had everything. And a lot of the stations out there like CBS and NBC and Fox um, would permit their content to be streamed through Netflix, Amazon, or Hulu. And I guess eventually along the line, at some point, they realized that there was money to be made there. So a lot of these companies are now pulling their content from the bigger streaming corporations and starting their own streaming apps. CBS All Access is an example of that. So is Peacock. Fox Television is having one come out soon. And it doesn't mean that you won't find this content on other streaming services. It just means that you'll find more of this specific content on this specific streaming service. So if you're looking for CBS content, then your best bet is to typically go to CBS All Access. If you're looking for specific NBC content, then Peacock is usually the way to go. It's kind of made this a little bit more convoluted than it used to be. You, again, used to be able to access pretty much everything by having 3 subscriptions, and now it's kind of a little bit more daunting than that. There is an answer to that, and it's Hulu, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But again, this is really kind of specifically for people who are looking for CBS content. Criterion Channel is, if you're a big movie fan, Criterion Channel is a good streaming service in that capacity, but it is incredibly expensive for what it is. If you're not familiar with what the Criterion Collection is, it's kind of just what's deemed as the best movies of all time, the biggest and brightest movies ever made, from the dawn of cinema to now. It's usually it's a good streaming service for people who kind of consider themselves to be movie buffs or cinemaphiles, but it's really expensive, and you can get a lot of this content elsewhere for much, much cheaper. But if you want that feather in your cap of having the Criterion Channel is something that you own, then it's worth it in that capacity. But it's $11 a month. It's $100 for the year. That's one of the most expensive streaming services out there. And it is point and click. They have a very deep library, but again, anything in the library has to be considered Criterion category. And so it is a very specific taste that they're looking to accommodate. I wasn't a huge fan of it. I found a lot of these titles elsewhere for much cheaper. Discovery Plus is hands down, I think, one of the best apps out there right now, just because for so cheap. As you can see here, it's $4.99 a month with ads, $7 without ads. You get so much content for this. You get Animal Planet, you get Food Network, HGTV, TLC. It's got a library of over 55,000 episodes of those titles. It's obviously it's predominantly informative television. My kids watch it all the time too, which is nice that they're not watching, some of the other reality television shows or whatever the case may be. So in that capacity, if it's kind of educational information, educational programming that you're looking for, Discovery Plus is a great way to go. And it's also incredibly cheap for what it provides you. It's pretty incredible. Disney Plus is another one of the newer ones. It's a great streaming service in my opinion. What's really great about Disney Plus is you can bundle it. You can get Hulu and ESPN Plus for just $12.99 a month. Those 2 streaming services on their own cost about $12.99 a month each. So you'd get Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus for $13, which is pretty incredible. The Disney Plus library is pretty expansive. It obviously they have original content. They have all the old Disney movies. You don't have to worry about. I don't know if anyone remembers, but Disney used to do this thing where they used to put their movies away in the vault, and then you wouldn't be able to access that movie again on DVD for 5 years or whatever the case may be, or 10 years sometimes, or until whatever the new viewing medium was that came out. But it's got all the Marvel movies, the Star Wars movies. It's got all the Disney classics on it. It's great for. I say anyone, especially families, if there's children in the family, Disney Plus is a great way to go. My kids watch it constantly. ESPN Plus is great for people who are looking for obviously sports. It's $5.99 a month, or you can do $50 for a basic year of service. But like I said, if you're going to do this, you might as well just get the Disney bundle because you get more content for less money. But ESPN's great. It's typically you can view almost anything that is playing within the ESPN, any sport that's playing within the ESPN atmosphere. So if you're a sports person and that's what you're looking for, then this is a great route to go as well. If you're looking for more specific, if you have a specific team that you follow, unfortunately, I'm a huge Mets fan, although this year they're doing great, but normally it's not the case, and it's still early in the year. But there's an SNY app that they just created to the point that it's so new that I didn't even get a chance to put it into this presentation. And it's specifically for the Mets, and yes, has their app as well for the Yankees. But the SNY app it's new, so there's a lot of bugs. It doesn't work incredibly well. So I do use ESPN Plus a lot when the Mets are playing because SNY will freeze up a lot. And again, I get it pretty cheap because I have the bundle package. FuboTV is, when they first started, they were more about a sports package. They were actually better than ESPN Plus. They were the premier sports streaming app. You could find anything. If there was a sport happening, you could watch it. Surprised that you couldn't tune into like kids playing kickball. If it's happening, it was on there, but the price let you know about it because it was very, very expensive. As you can see, it still is pretty expensive. $60 a month for 90 channels, which is a lot. It also functions as a live TV app. So if you're a big sports fan, you can do this and get live TV at the same time, and that might suit you. But if you're not either of those two very specific criteria, then this isn't really the app for you. And just to give you a heads up when it comes to the live TV, we're kind of fortunate that we live in New York in the capacity that the live TV apps, the live streaming apps, basically usually take their channels, the channels that you can find on live television streaming apps are from the bigger market areas within an area. So we're in New York, we're in the tri-state area. So if you live in Jersey, if you live in Connecticut, if you live in Long Island, if you live in upstate New York, you're going to get New York channels predominantly. So you'll get channel 2 CBS, channel 4 NBC, Fox 5. Which that kind of works out to our benefit. If you were in the middle of the country and you were living in a small town that was on the border of 2 states, it is very likely that your predominant channels would be from whatever big market city is nearby. So I know a lot of people often have concerns when it comes to the live television app as to whether or not they're going to have, their channel 2 CBS News at 10 or the channel 4 or channel 5, whatever the case may be. Because we live here where we do, you do get that. You just won't have News 12 because News 12 is very, very specific to Long Island, obviously. But News 12, go figure, is creating their own app as well. So, and I believe they might actually be out now. I think as long as you have an Optimum account, you can access it for free. So next is HBO Max. HBO Max is a little expensive. It's $15 a month. It is a good app. The interface is terrible. It can be very buggy at times and it can be slow at times, but the content is really good. If you're a fan of HBO shows or Warner Brother movies, if you're for some reason a fan of the DC movies, and there's also Studio Ghibli, which if you're not familiar with that, which is kind of like the Japanese Disney. So there's fantastic content on here, and HBO is very well known for making their own amazing original content. That's all here as well. So the content's fantastic. The interface isn't, and the price definitely isn't. But if these are titles that you're interested in, then you're not going to find a lot of this content in a lot of other places, because it's getting to the point where so many of these streaming apps exist and so many of these companies and distribution companies are creating their own apps, that what they're doing is they're starting to sign exclusivity contracts with certain streaming services. So whereas once upon a time you could find all sorts of Disney content on Netflix or Marvel content on Netflix. Nowadays, you really can't. There might be a few kind of titles that still linger on Netflix, but for the most part, when Disney Plus came along, all those titles were pulled and put onto Disney Plus. And the same thing happened with HBO Max. A lot of the Warner Brother movies that were once on Netflix and have been pulled from there and are exclusively on HBO Max. So again, this is why I say I can't tell you exactly what the best apps are. I can just provide you with as much information as I can about each app, and then you kind of have to pick and choose and make your own decisions based on that. It's all kind of relative. So there's Hulu, and then the next slide is Hulu plus Live TV. I'm going to talk about these as if they're one function, because the Hulu plus Live TV is basically just Hulu with live television as well, obviously. Hulu's a great app. It's $5.99 a month. It's 12 with ads. Without ads, it's 12, which is a pretty drastic jump. But I've been so spoiled by not having ads for so long that 30 seconds of ads feel like an eternity to me. And I hate the fact that I feel that way, but technology did this to me. But Hulu's fantastic in the capacity that it has this enormous, it's probably got the largest catalog of titles. And what's great about it, what's really great about it, is that you can typically access the title the next day after it's premiered on television. To compare it to Netflix, if you were a fan of, I'm trying to think of just a random show, How to Get Away with Murder. If you were a fan of that show and you watched all the seasons on Netflix, you would have to wait until the following year for whatever season that's currently on television to be available on Netflix. Typically, they will release a season on Netflix. They'll release a previous season when the new season premieres on live television, if that makes sense. Hulu, the day after a show premieres on television, you'll have access to it. And obviously that works the same as like the Peacock or CBS. You'll have access to those shows, but those will be specific to whatever app it is, where Hulu, you pretty much have access to almost anything. It is one of the best apps out there, and they have pretty good original content as well. They have an exclusivity contract with Seinfeld, so eventually Seinfeld is going to be removed from Netflix and only on Hulu. It's a great service. It is. It's one of the first ones that came out. It used to be free a long time ago, but I guess nothing can grow if it's free, unfortunately. But it is one of the better services out there. And like I said, you can get it with live TV as well. And this is also part of the package that I was talking about before with Disney Plus. Just know that when it comes to that Disney Plus package, the Hulu version you get is the $5.99 with ads version, and you don't get access to live television. So just keep that in mind if that's something you're looking into. Here's Netflix. Netflix is the original, the OG of streaming services. It's for everyone. The prices kind of vary. The pricing system can be a little confusing at times. With Netflix, it's $9 for standard version. Actually, these prices just jumped, so I do need to update this. I'm realizing now. You can get $12.99 for 2 screens, and that's actually one thing that Netflix did that kind of started with Netflix, and then a lot of other services started doing as well, is the multi-screen function that it has, whereas multiple people can watch the same Netflix account at the same time. They can watch different things, which I guess at this point is kind of coming back to them, because now they're trying to fight back on people sharing passwords. The idea was that 2 or 3 or 4 screens within the same house would be able to watch the same Netflix account at the same time. But obviously people started sharing passwords with each other. Having these subscriptions is actually kind of a great bartering system, where I have people in my family where I'll pay for Netflix and Hulu, and they're paying for something else, and we'll kind of exchange passwords. And it just gives you more access for free, essentially. It's kind of a bartering, like I said, it's a bartering system, but Netflix is really trying to crack down on that. But it's one of the better services. It's got, as you can see with the pictures on every slide, almost every interface of every other streaming service looks like Netflix in some way. They kind of set the bar when it comes to that. And it does have great original content as well. And one thing that you got to keep in mind about a lot of these streaming services, not the live television ones, but the kind of click and play ones that are out there, is that you don't sign a contract when you have these services. You pay for 1 month or for an entire year. but let's say you're only paying for 1 month. If you're a fan, the new Stranger Things season is coming out either at the end of this month or the end of next month. I'm not entirely sure. So if you don't want Netflix, but you do want to watch Stranger Things, obviously you're not going to find that on Hulu or any of the other stations. It's exclusively on Netflix. So one of the things that is kind of cool about this entire system, that this streaming service system, is that you can pay let's say $8.99 for 1 month, and you can binge all of Stranger Things, and then you can just cancel your subscription. And then when the next season comes out in a year or two, or with Stranger Things every 4 years at this point, you can just do it again. Because again, there's no contract that you have to sign. You don't get penalized for cancellations. So that's something to keep in mind too. It can be kind of a rotating shelf that you constantly move around. If there's something on HBO Max that you want to watch, I actually read that after the ending of the last season of Game of Thrones, that HBO's old streaming service before HBO Max, it was called HBO Go, took a huge hit. A lot of people left because all they had it for was Game of Thrones. And so it's just something that a lot of people do. You can kind of sign up, watch what you want to watch, keep it for the month because you're paying for the month, so you might as well, but then just cancel your subscription. And when something else comes up on that channel that you want to watch or that service, then you can just subscribe again and then cancel when you're done. You're basically paying, let's say, $8 to watch, whatever 12 hours of content that the series or the season might be. Paramount TV is a relatively new one as well. It's relatively cheap. Paramount owns CBS. So when you have CBS All Access, you get Paramount Access as well. And it's the same thing with this. The only difference is CBS All Access tends to focus more on television. Paramount TV tends to focus more on films and original content. But I mean, it's really, if you're a CBS fan or a Paramount Films fan, it's a great app for that. The interface is pretty basic. The loading times are pretty basic. It's not going to blow your mind by any means, but it is fully functional and serves its purpose in that capacity. So here's Peacock. Peacock is the NBC streaming service. And just like CBS and Paramount and all the other apps, if you're a fan of that content, then this is the route to go. One thing that's cool about Peacock is that they do have a free option. It is kind of inundated with ads, as long as you don't mind that, but you kind of get what you pay for. And then there's $4.99 a month with less ads, or you can do $9.99 a month and that's got no ads whatsoever. Original content from NBC. It also has a lot of classic movies in there as well. And again, NBC television shows. And again, if I'm going too quick, just let me know and I'll slow down. Like I said, there's so much content here. Philo, I'm not going to go too deep into Philo just because I believe that within the next 2 to 3 years, it's going to dissolve. It's a live television app. It's $20 a month for 58 channels. You can add on additional channels for like $3.99 a month. No sports access whatsoever. So if you're a big fan of sports, Philo is not the way for you to go. It does give you access to like A&E and BBC, Comedy Central, things like that. But like I said before, there are better live television streaming apps out there. Showtime is much like HBO Max, specific to Showtime content. If you're a fan of Showtime, great way to go. If you like Ray Donovan, you can watch this. But a lot of that content, even like Ray Donovan, some of that content you can access on Hulu, so you don't. It's not really necessary as far as having a subscription to it. Sling TV is actually a relatively good live television streaming app. The problem with Sling TV is that its price structure is the most convoluted thing I've ever seen in my entire life. And I have it up here. And this doesn't do it justice with how convoluted it is. They have orange packages, they got blue packages, they have a combined orange and blue package. They have a blue package that has certain orange titles and a orange package that's certain blue. It's chaos. If you can stomach all of that, and if you have the capability of understanding their structure when it comes to these packages, it is a great live television app. It's wonderful, and it gives access to a lot more content than a lot of the other live television apps. But again, figuring out what you want and what you want to pay for and what you get, it's, I mean, have Tylenol with you. I want to say again, I do firmly believe that YouTube Live is a much better option just because it's less of a headache. Stars, if you're a fan of Stars, much like HBO and Showtime, if you're a fan of Stars, this is a route for you to go. If you don't really find yourself watching Stars often, because again, a lot of the movies that you find on HBO Max or that you find on Showtime or that you find on Stars, you can find on other streaming services. So you're basically kind of looking for original content. So if you like the show Power, Stars is a good app for you. Otherwise, it's not really overly necessary. Here's YouTube TV. Pricey. YouTube TV is pricey. I'm not gonna lie, it's $65 a month. This is where that bartering system kind of comes into play again, where I and family members of mine in different households split this price, and we all have access to live television. It's great. One of the reasons I'm such an advocate for it is because YouTube has been around for 20 years at this point, and we all know the YouTube interface. We're all familiar with it. Sling TV has a weird interface. Hulu Live TV is a pretty good interface because it's just like Hulu. But YouTube, I mean, you know, even if you don't think you know YouTube inside and out, you kind of do to a degree. And their live television functions, their interface is the same exact way. So the familiarity of that alone helps. It's got over 70 networks. You do get a cloud DVR, which I don't think is overly necessary because you can stream things if you want to. Obviously, you can click and play when you want to. But some of the live television doesn't make it to their library, so it does make sense that you have the DVR functionality. Then there's a lot of content on there. There's a lot of content, and again, because we live in Long Island, where we live, you'll have access to the local TV affiliates and not some kind of faraway one that you're unfamiliar with. So I did, just in case you're specifically looking for live TV streaming, live television apps, I put this down as a breakdown for you to kind of compare the four major ones. Again, I don't want to go too deeply into it. You can peruse this at your leisure, but just know that this is here. And also, this is a big part I didn't talk about before, but a lot of these services, specifically the live television apps, have free trials. So give them a shot. Do a free trial. You literally have nothing to lose. Give it a shot and see which one works best for you. But as you can see here, it's base price, whether it has a free trial, whether the 4 big channels that you might be looking for are included, how many screens you can stream at the same time. Family and user profiles, those are important, I think, nowadays because of algorithms. So if you have a lot of people that are using the same account, algorithms are wonderful, but they're also incredible. They're such a headache sometimes. Before, Netflix was one of the first streaming services that incorporated profiles, individual profiles. And if you're not sure what that means, it means that when Netflix first started, you would log into it and then it was just Netflix. You had the content and you had to pick what you wanted to watch. Now they have profiles where myself, my wife, my 2 kids, we all have our own profiles. So if, what makes that great, that doesn't affect the multi-screening capacity. It just affects your specific algorithm. So now when my kids are trying to watch, some cartoon or whatever the case may be, them watching that won't affect the algorithm I have on my profile. So that's where that comes into play. And again, if you have further questions about that, just let me know. And the same thing, I watch a lot of Kung Fu movies, I watch a lot of horror movies. And obviously me watching those are not affecting the picks or selections that my kids have on their profile. So that's why profiles are usually a good thing. There's free apps out there. Keep in mind that when it's free, you get what you pay for. But there are free apps out there. Pluto TV is one of them. It's a live television replacement app. But it's inundated with ads, and the picture quality suffers a lot because, again, they're not making any profit off of this. So it is what you get. It's very pixelated. Here's a few other free apps. YouTube, obviously. Plex is another one. Again, not great services. YouTube's a great service, not for watching content. It's not for watching television content, but for watching tutorials or whatever else you might be interested in. Plex, you can forget about Plex. It's there's no original content on these free apps. So a lot of these titles you can find elsewhere. I just put them in there so you knew that they were there as an option. Sony Crackle and Tubi TV are two more. Sony Crackle is, as I said previously, with another service. Sony Crackle, I don't believe is going to last much longer at this point. I believe Sony is going to kind of start pushing forward with their PlayStation streaming service, and Sony Crackle is going to be kind of left behind, theoretically. Here's just a few more free apps that you can look at when you get a chance. Great Big Story, Neverthink, Twitch, and Vimeo. Again, these are a little bit more specific to certain tastes. Neverthink is very interesting in that it functions as YouTube, but you don't do any actual searches. You just log in and you pick something. You don't have to log in, you just open it up and you pick something out of like a bunch of different categories, and then it just kind of starts showing you videos without you selecting anything. Interesting. You're not gonna find television or movie content on here, but it's still pretty interesting. Here's additional sports apps: MLB TV, NFL, Fox Sports Go, CBS, and kind of a breakdown of what each one is, who each one is best for. Again, I'm more of a fan of ESPN Plus than any of these. I do love baseball. I'm a big baseball fan, but I also love football. So I don't know why I would pay MLB TV and NFL TV when I could just get ESPN or Fubo. And this is more geared towards the patrons here at Rogers Memorial Library, but I'm not sure, you might have these at Shelter Island as well. There's an app called Hoopla and there's an app called Canopy. And if your library subscribes to these, then you using your library card will permit you to watch 10 titles each month on either of these two apps. And if you have more questions about that, then just let me know as well. Here's just a few tips before cutting the cord. I strongly advise setting up an internet plan with unlimited data. I know that that's easier said than done, but financially wise, but it will make your life much easier when you don't have to worry about what you're streaming eating up your minutes or your data. As I was saying before, just figure out what shows and channels are must-haves, things that you consistently watch and things that you're always interested in. That kind of helps you narrow it down and refine what you're looking for. Try to place DVR shows with streaming options. Try to replace, is what that's supposed to say. Try to replace DVR shows with streaming options. So therefore, you're not DVRing shows anymore. You can just kind of point and click on the service of your that you want. You can actually install TV antennas. They still, even at PC Richards, they still sell rabbit ears. So if you have these streaming services, you can get rabbit ears and you'll still get News 12 and TV 55, depends on the reception in your area, but they're relatively cheap and easy to install.
Can I ask a quick question?
Of course you can.
What are some of the suppliers of the home internet if you don't go with your cable company?
There's not a lot of options, unfortunately, especially on Shelter Island, I would imagine. Fios was making a big push across the island. And I know as of about a few years ago, they kind of fizzled out mid-island. But from what I understand, they're starting to make a push again out into the east end. So Fios could be a possibility, but right now, more than anything, Altice is probably your only. They completely monopolize from the middle of Long Island until the east end.
And do they penalize us if we don't get if we don't have cable and phone with them?
No. At one point, no. Now they are starting to jump the prices up a little bit because they realize that a lot of people are cutting their cords because there's so much streaming content out there. So you'll be paying less because they used to have the triple pay feature. You'll pay less, but those prices are rising. So hopefully Fios can make a little bit of a stronger push. And then there's always, unfortunately, that's kind of the only two options that we have is Altice and Fios.
Right.
So they do kind of have us there.
Thanks.
I wish I had better news for you with that. Figure out if watching TV, if watching sports is a must, and do trial runs. A lot of these services provide trial runs, so do trial runs as much as you possibly can. This app, I can't stress enough, is one of the best apps out there. It's called Just Watch. It's also a website. It's justwatch.com, but the app is free. And you can literally type anything into this app and it'll tell you where you can find it to rent, where you can find it to stream, and where you can find it to purchase. You can even look people up. Like I looked at, this is a screenshot from my phone. I looked up Quentin Tarantino, and if you can scroll down on this and it provides all of his movies. And as you can see here, it tells you I could stream them here, I can rent them here, and I can buy them here. It's a wonderful app because there's so much content out there right now, and there's so many streaming services out there as well that sometimes it's hard to pinpoint that title that you're looking for. You can Google it, you know, what streaming device, what streaming service has Pulp Fiction, let's say, or you can just use this app, and it's very user friendly and easy to use. And again, totally free, so you can't go wrong with that. And here are just a couple of the other streaming devices that are out there. There's Apple TV, there's Roku, Fire Stick, NVIDIA, and Google Chromecast. I'm a fan of specifically myself, I'm a fan of the Amazon products, the Alexa, the Fire products. I have a Fire Cube, which again, with my Amazon Prime kind of acts as a central hub for all of my other streaming services. So that's why I'm a fan of that, but that's kind of relative to your own personal taste. NVIDIA, I'm not a huge fan of. Roku, Apple TV, they all work well. It says 4K on some of these, but for the most part, most of these are 4K now anyway. A lot of them are actually on the verge of becoming 8K. And that's it. So do we have any questions or any suggestions or anything that you know that I don't know that you can fill me in on, and I can steal your idea? So I can pull you guys back up. Where'd you go? Anything at all?
I just want to, I'll just mention that if anyone wants to know more about Canopy, they can email me, because we do have Canopy.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because obviously I made this specifically for here, and as I'm reading, I'm like, oh, I totally didn't think of this. Canopy, so I can say Canopy is a wonderful service. We have Canopy and Hoopla here at Rogers Memorial Library. I never use Hoopla. I use Canopy all the time. It has so much great content, especially foreign films and documentaries. There's so much incredible content on there.
I agree. I use it a lot, and it's great. A lot of unusual content that you won't find other places.
Yep. Thank you, Jocelyn.
Sure. Oh, Zoe wants to know, did you mention Pluto?
Yes, Pluto TV is mentioned in here. Let me see if I can pull that up. Again, I'm not using where is Pluto TV? That's one of the free apps, isn't it? Here it is. Yeah, there's Pluto TV right there. It's a good app. Again, it's free. So you kind of get what you pay for. The pixelation can be a bit much sometimes. There's a lot of ads. What's really cool about Pluto TV is it's got over 100 channels, and it's all vetted content, which means that people watch it. You know what vetted means. I don't have to explain that, but it's one of the few streaming services that actually vets their content by people, not by algorithms, which that never happens nowadays. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Shoot.
So I have been using a Roku stick.
Okay.
I cut up my cable cord 2 years ago. So I've just been kind of doing trial and error.
Yes.
Adding whatever app I wanted. How do you best get rid of the app? Sometimes I'm paying for it a couple of extra months before I figure out how to get rid of it.
Oh, fair enough. When you do that, are you doing it through, what are you watching it on? Is it your phone or an app or iPad, or is it a TV?
I'm watching it on a smart TV.
Okay. Typically there's a settings within there, or you can actually even usually go to their websites, and you can cancel your subscription from there. If you're, when you download an app, and I'm sorry if this is too much information for everybody else, but when you download an app, does it go through your iTunes account? Does it go through your Apple ID account or a Google account? Or is it just going through your television?
I guess it's going through my television because I
Okay.
hate to say I don't even know the things that you just mentioned.
Fair enough. No, that's okay. That's perfectly okay. That was me just trying to narrow down how to answer that question. Yeah, typically you can just go into the settings. You can cancel from within there, or you can, and every one of these streaming services has a settings. Or you can just, you can go to their website. All of these streaming services have their own website as well, and you can cancel from there. Just log into your account.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
No worries. And if anybody's doing this through an Apple device or through a Google device, then you can just log into your Apple or Google account, and you can find your subscriptions in there, and you can cancel from there.
Steve,
Yes.
Glenn wanted to know, what are the Wi-Fi alternatives? Is 5G any good as offered for $50 from T-Mobile?
I don't know what the service is like where you live, but the 5G it is great. It is. It's a lot quicker. I feel like technology's made us so much more impatient. If you'd asked me that question 10 years ago, I don't know if I could have answered differently, because I wouldn't have known better. But nowadays, 5G it's fast. It's super fast. If you have that option and you're comfortable with whatever it costs, I don't think it's a terrible thing to go for, especially if you're looking to stream. The better your internet services, the better your Wi-Fi services, the better the streaming works, obviously. Any other questions?
I'll just mention that I'll send out the presentation to anyone that wants it. I haven't sent it out yet. The only email address that I don't have is for whoever is Eeltown. So if they could let me know their email address. I'm at jozolins@silibrary.org. If you want the presentation.
Yeah, and my content is on my content. Too much content. My contact information is on the first slide too. And I know it's clearly I work at a different library, but that doesn't matter. We're all connected. So if you have questions, email me. My direct extension's on there as well. So don't hesitate to contact me if you have more questions about this, or if you have suggestions, or you want to tell me that this was terrible, you can feel free to do that.
It was very enjoyable. Thank you for laying it all out for us.
Yeah, I know it's a lot, and thank you for that. I appreciate that. And I know it's a lot of content. I know it's a lot of information, and I know it goes quick because there's so many slides. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And don't hesitate to reach out to me if you need to.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Steve. That was, you know, everything about this topic.
This was a lot of years of research. I'm still researching this every day. So
it's so complicated, but you made it more understandable. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Any other questions before we say goodnight? No? All right. Well, this is recorded too, so we'll put it on our YouTube channel so you can go over it again. And thank you, everyone. Thank you, Steve. That was great.
Thank you. Have a great night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Take care. There's everybody. Take care, Jocelyn.
Bye, Steve.